I tried on what ended up being my dress as a sample on my lunch break on accident by myself.
Life itself is stressful, but when you're planning a wedding, is everything is emphasized and it's truly a lot. Just put everything aside and truly enjoy the moment and truly try on the dresses and look at yourself in the mirror and smile and have fun and dance, to really feel like a bride.
It's special. It should be special, and no matter what you come from or what you do normally, it should be your moment, no matter what that looks like for you.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and besides of being recently married, I own the leading company in bouquet preservation in the world. It is when connecting with my clients that I felt the need to serve them and help them navigate this new and exciting journey. On this podcast, we bring you everything you need to know to plan the wedding of your dreams. We'll be featuring conversations with top wedding vendors and valuable tips and advice from real couples. Whether you're engaged or simply love, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this journey to your perfect wedding day. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club. Welcome back to Bridal Club. I'm super excited for this episode as I have a mom and daughter duo. When you are buying the dress, your wedding gown, you're likely not thinking about alterations, but I would argue that thinking about these alterations is possibly as important as actually finding the dress because you want the dress to fit you and not the other way around. I personally had quite a bit of a journey when it came to alterations that I was able to get to know the owners of Altered for the Altar, and this is why they're here today. Help me welcome Rylee and Ruth to this episode.
Altered for the Altar. What a clever name. Mom and daughter, you guys have more than 40 years of experience. I am so glad that we're doing this today. Why don't you tell our audience who you are and everything about Altered for the Altar?
I'm Ruth Calvert. I'm the owner of Altered for the Altar. I've been in business for 40 years. Didn't look like this 40 years ago. It's definitely been an evolution, but we are excited to be here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I'm Rylee. I honestly did not know that I was going to work with my mom in any capacity. I never anticipated that growing up, which is hysterical to me now. I went to college and I played around with quite a few different majors. My mom used to tell people that I was majoring in my sorority because I couldn't pick one. But I ended up going into the business program and I graduated and went to work for Target in their business training program, which was phenomenal. But I was only, I want to say, 7 months into the job. And I remember sitting and talking to my boss at 2 a.m. So that might have had something to do with it. But I remember him telling me, looking me straight in the face and going, "Hey, you need to run this like it's your own business." And I just had this like weird out of body moment where I was like, I'm literally selling toilet paper. I'm not passionate about this. And that was that. I mean, it was a very easy, simple decision. I had also just met my husband, and I always knew that work-life balance was going to matter because I grew up with my parents both having their own businesses. And so much of that was so that they could be a part of mine and my brother's lives and that we could live a certain lifestyle. Where they went and plugged in and add everything. And that wasn't something that I was willing to forfeit for my own family. So it was an easy decision to go about this. And I would say that's just the business at the core, right? Like we are family. Now we're more than just my parents and me and my brothers. We have my kids and more now. But at the heart of it, like we really just wanted that. We wanted to be able to be a family and have that flexibility, and we pull that over into our staff because they are our family. So, we make sure just little things like making sure they get one weekend off a month so that they get to spend time with their family. Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. But being able to be passionate about this and watch people start their own family is just really cool. It's not obviously what I thought I would end up, I don't know what I thought I would end up doing. But getting to watch people start creating their own families when that's so much of why we got into this to begin with, it's just a cool life full 360 moment.
I love that you said that. My parents were entrepreneurs as well. So watching you is like watching myself and my family because, first of all, your core values, family oriented, you truly care about your employees. And that shows because they treat their customers really well. And of course, that goes back to the values. And I really, really appreciate it. And I was really amazed and mesmerized by everything that you guys have created. And I told you, Ruth, ever since I met you, I was like, oh my God, can I have a tour of your space? It's honestly shocking, I mean, every single time that I'm on Facebook and somebody's asking for alterations, I always refer you guys because You're not a one single person show. You have a whole team and a ton of experience. So you started first, Ruth, right? And then your daughter joined you. Is that how it started?
Right. So after I got married, shortly after, right about the very same time, I just wanted my own business. My father was an architect and an engineer. I had that kind of mindset. I was working at a bank. I just didn't see a future there. I didn't see myself growing. I just wanted to control my destiny. I had been making a couple of bridesmaids dresses. Everybody was in weddings, and they used to just instead of like going to the store doing all this fancy stuff, we would just buy fabric and then hand somebody a pattern and you would make it. So I can't remember not having a sewing machine. It was important to my grandmother that I have one. So from a toy machine on, I've always been capable of doing it. I came from a big family. So if you wanted an outfit, you didn't run over to the mall, you just made stuff. So I don't remember a point where I learned. I just don't remember not ever being able to do it. And so I was talking to all these women in church, and I just want to start a business. I need to see something. And this lady came up, and it was somebody who mentored and was very kind to me early on in my marriage. And she said, "Hey, this bridal shop is looking for someone. You need to go over, tell them that you could do it, and then we'll help you if you need it." And that's what I did. I just kind of jumped and went in, and it just never stopped from there. My parents definitely supported. For my first Christmas as a married person, they brought me business cards, and ultimately, you look back and you say it's just a God thing. Everything just worked out the way it was supposed to work out. I don't know that I definitely didn't see this as the all of this is the end game, but I just trusted and grinded out, and here we are.
Wow. So before we dive in and really in your business and of course like talk about how to book your services and whatnot, I really want to say two things. So one is one of the things that I regret from my experience, just like from planning the wedding, I wasn't too involved because of my business. I almost felt like guilty taking time off to try on dresses that I just wanted it to get over with. I really regret, and I'm ashamed to say this, but I really regret my attitude towards shopping for a wedding gown because I've always wanted that, right? Like ever since I was a little kid, I thought I was going to be a fashion designer for wedding dresses. And one of the things that I told my sister that she's getting married is if I can give you one advice, and this is for everybody listening, just enjoy it, like just put everything aside and truly enjoy the moment and truly try on the dresses and look at yourself in the mirror and smile and have fun and dance, to really feel like a bride because I didn't have that and I did that to myself. And so that is one of the things that I really, really want every listener. I know you guys are stressed. Life itself is stressful, but when you're planning a wedding, is everything is emphasized and it's truly a lot. And you have family members telling you this and that, and all these expenses and awkward conversations, but truly enjoy that moment. And then the next thing that I want to talk to you about is basically the perception of alterations. I feel like most people and most brides don't necessarily think about it because why would they, right? They don't know. So hopefully, I really, really hope that they're listening to this before they even go buy the dress because if they understand what alterations can do for you, a lot of doors can open. You guys are here not to, of course, just fit the dress, but actually alter it. Tell me more about what you guys do at your shop.
First, I will say, I know this wasn't the question. Your story and you being a bride, and I've told you this before when we connected prior. I've never resonated with someone else as a bride as much as I have resonated with you because it is such a unique experience to be a wedding vendor and to be a bride. Got married in 2017. We went brick and mortar 6 months before my wedding. I tried on what ended up being my dress as a sample on my lunch break on accident by myself. It's weird because you feel guilty because you're supposed to be served. I do very much believe from a godly aspect, like you are serving others. And we do genuinely believe that we're doing that with our business. So to take that time for yourself feels unnatural sometimes,
Right.
In the wedding planning process. So for anybody who is listening to that, I would double in on that. It's special. It should be special. And no matter what you come from or what you do normally, like it should be your moment. No matter what that looks like for you. Ruth and I joked about this earlier. So much of our business now has evolved from me being a bride.
Yeah.
Because I did.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I did want to have my own moment and I did want to be able to bring my friends and have a good time at fittings. And so there's a running joke that I am our hardest client. And if I wanted it, it's now condoned.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted the experience. I wanted to get my nails done before I came to a fitting. I wanted to go do brunch with the girls and then come to a fitting. Like I am a girl's girl to my absolute core. And so that is not anything manufactured. That truly came from like a real life experience of myself being a bride. Obviously, we have my mom's years and years of experience that got us to this point. But I would say that the energy that I brought in was from my own lived experience being a bride. So you're never going to hear pushback on that because it should be fun.
I do think that's one of the things that, we able to are able to do well. Hopefully people feel this is that we're at least coming in from that perspective. But as a mom, I had a different kind of stress or pressure, feeling like I want to give Riley, now I'm going to cry. I wanted to give her what I give to everybody else. And that's hard. You know, it's because you're still trying to run your business, you're still trying to do this. It's like, do you do it after hours? Do you do it before hours? Um, and that's the pressure. So when I watch the moms come in, and I think there's so much money being spent, there's so much time being spent. And while they don't have my story, they have their story where they want their daughter to have the wedding maybe that they didn't have, or the experience that they didn't have, or just all of the things. And so I really can relate to the moms now thinking,
Well,
it's hard. And when a daughter comes in and she's saying, well, I don't like my dress, or I don't know if this is the one, my heart breaks for the moms too.
yeah.
It's yes, obviously we feel for the bride and we can, do whatever they want. But I'm looking at the moms just thinking, wow, I know that that was probably a big financial burden. And now she's standing here saying it's still not what she wants. So
Well,
I think that that's something that hopefully we can kind of help all of that, where we come in from both perspectives.
my mom also works here. She was involved in the wedding as much as I was, which I was not the typical bride. I really was, I had a planner that did everything on purpose because of my business. But I never actually thought about my mom's stress while I was complaining about things, or like if things were not going my way. So thank you so much for shining that light. I think we should be more mindful, for sure, as brides too, because at the end of the day, and I have said this before actually, it was my mom's day too.
There's just a lot of emotion that goes with weddings, and that's the hard thing, is that, one of the things is it's not just a dress. That's what we feel all the time here. It's not just a dress. You've got expectations. You're supposed to fulfill these dreams, and that's a lot of pressure on these little bitty dresses.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just a lot. And so, one of the things is, like you said, if you can encourage somebody to think about their life that's about to happen and all the exciting things, and not put all the focus just on this one day for these couple of hours. It is special. It is very special, but there's so much else that happens at this time too, blending of families. There's a lot. And so when we see girls coming in stressed out, I finally reached a point in my career where I can understand that it's not personal. It's not always us. It's like so many things outside of this building, and to understand that and to just really empathize and let them, like, have their moments, and kind of have a little bit of a meltdown if they need to. We're a safe zone here, so they can come in. They tell us all kinds of, like, we're kind of like counselors. They tell us
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's a lot for a dress.
Yes, and honestly, that was my experience with you. That's why I said like it was very like family oriented. Like you feel the coziness going in, even though it's a big store. That is an exceptional experience that I don't think you can get anywhere else. Speaking about that, what do you think sets you apart from other alterations companies?
I would say it's that, but I would say not just in alterations, I would say in vendors, I would reach that as far as vendors in general. Our processes are streamlined. We have everything under control. We've built up a phenomenal staff. I mean, they are incredible. We love them to death. And we have all these systems in place, right? But like that wasn't the end game. The end game, and this is kind of how I live my life. Like you structure and organize so that you're able to be present, so that
Mm.
you're able to do life with people. And
Okay,
so
that's what Riley does. I live in organized chaos.
I cannot.
Riley's all the procedures you see, everything. That's all Riley. I'm like, it'll work itself out. It'll all happen.
But that's why you guys work so well together.
We were definitely the yin and yang. She's running behind me all the time, and I'm like, it's going to be good. And that's one of the things that's so great for us, is that she's able to do the things that I'm not going to do, and I'm going to do the things that she's not going to do. and we're not stepping on each other's toes. She's not fighting to do my part, and I definitely am not fighting to do her part. And there's definitely a synergy in all of that. And I love that for all businesses that have a next generation with that energy coming in. Everybody has a part. Everybody has a part. And I think that is what sets us apart, and that energy, that lifeline coming in, and that it's not just for me, it's not just for Rylee. You've got Ray, you've got the next gen, all of this coming in, and that breathes new life into me for sure. And as I'm watching my friends retire and kind of decide what their next phase looks like, it's like we're ramping up, like you know, we're not off the gas pedal here. And so at this point is the time that I've loved this the most, as far as I don't feel my age. Like, we've got a whole life of things happening here.
Having a team, we have a team of 12 as well, right? It's you're not relying on one person. That person gets sick, the customer should never know about somebody getting sick, somebody going on vacation or anything like that. So having a very reliable team that is working behind the scenes. You mentioned all the processes. I know the processes because we have a huge, like, oh my gosh, like think like 50 different processes, and every single
Yep.
order goes through all of those processes,
Yep.
and every single one of our team members is touching different processes, and they're amazing at what they do, as opposed to like me being good at every single thing. I know that is very similar to your business as well.
I mean, I would say, so this is something we don't necessarily normally talk about. My mom's probably going to be like, "Oh my gosh." Um,
Uh-oh.
but to kind of toot our own horn, you learn through volume, honestly.
Mhm.
And so our systems have been just evolving with all of that. But we have, from early on, we've been doing Google Drive pictures, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal now, but 10 years ago, it was a huge deal.
Right.
So I have a minimum of 9 photos per bride dating back 10 years ago. The forms and the systems that are in place so that nothing is falling short. If there is a
Yes.
crack in the
Yep.
process, it's
Hmm.
cleaned up immediately. I mean, right now, as I speak, there are over 590 dresses in the store accounted for, followed by. And, that is so important. And that's not something you ask. You talked about when you're buying a dress and things girls don't know. It's the business behind it. Like, a dress can be beautiful, but, like, you need to know who you're buying from. You need
Yes.
to understand, because probably the most expensive they're purchasing the most expensive garment of your life.
Yes.
It matters. How long have they been in business? What are their procedures like? What does it look like behind the curtain? Are they gonna be accountable?
Yes.
There's things that I will not touch on, right now, that have gone on in our industry where just mistakes have been made, is how I will phrase that. I look at some of my friends that sell in the bridal industry, and those years matter, that experience matters, those
Yes.
procedures matter. Like, that is how you are taken care of.
To piggyback off that, though, because we're kind of in a funny phase right now where people talk about our size. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny, because we still see ourselves as a small family business. But one of the things that I can say in the 40 years is that when I was by myself, saying we, I won't get too personal, but there's moments where I had to make all the tough choices too. I had to get the dresses done. Like you said, I can't say that the dress couldn't be finished. So that meant that on the way to my father's funeral, I'm dropping off a dress, and just countless things. And the kids, I would go to a game and then come and stay. It's There's a lot of pressure to being by yourself. So when we have this small business mentality, sickness, if they aren't able to complete it, if it's just a lot. So in order to run our business, we have to have a certain volume to justify the space and 23 people and all of that. It's a big learning curve, but it is funny to us when somebody talks about our size as if that's a negative, and we're saying, what are the options? Think about what that small business, that one, going to somebody in their house or something, while I appreciate and respect them, you have to be careful with that as well. So we do have, with our staff, we do have somebody sick, somebody's this, and somebody's picking up the slack for them. That's,
Mhm.
yeah, very
And
difficult.
and again, they have honed in what they're doing. They're now experts in that field,
Right,
as opposed to
right.
trying to be just okay in different ones. You guys have way more in common with me than you probably know. I really wish that you can come to the studio because every single part of our process is also photographed. Is I can if I'm in China, I can literally look it up and I know exactly where something may have fallen through the cracks, and I know exactly what has been said to the customer and I can pick the slack somewhere else. So yeah,
Right.
we definitely have a lot. And it's a lot. It's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be handled. Thank you for shining some light on that too. For as far as like what the process is like going to you, what would you say to a bride? Like when should they book your services? When should they reach out?
So I will say that we partner with about 15 stores in the DFW area. And one of the things that we offer our bridal stores is I go in and we train them and we talk to the stylist and they kind of understand our process. When they purchase, they've been educated, both the stylist and now the client. So they understand when they need to be booking, which is usually about 3 to 4 months before the wedding. That's in a perfect world, right? But we don't always live in a perfect world. Very often the dresses are rushed in. We added a portrait date in. So my deal is once you buy a dress, like if you have questions, reach out. You're usually almost always talking to me. And it's one of those things, we don't do everything the same for every person. And truly, very rarely is the set of circumstances just perfect where you seamlessly transition to a 3 to 4 month process where you have 3 fittings over that time. Usually we have some rush timelines. Maybe your dress was delayed, whatever the case may be. We like to talk with you specifically on yours and set up. Currently, I booked an appointment today, this morning, for somebody next June 2025. So, like, we're always here to chat with you and make sure you have that on the books because, again, I'm going to emphasize this. We really don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be a chore. We want it to be exciting and fun. And that comes with having your ducks in a row, right? So we want to make sure that we're here with you at the very beginning once you buy the dress to make it easier on you and make that transition of bridal store to alterations as seamless as possible. One of the reasons that we are like that is because prior to going brick and mortar, which I touched on, we sat in-house for a bridal salon chain for 17 years.
Mm.
So a lot of our model comes from being inside a bridal salon. And so we understand that culture very well. And it developed a lot of our processes. So we really do like to jump on board with the bride as soon as possible. I always say you can never give me too much information and you can never tell me too early.
When we talk about having relationships with the bridal shops, it is not a monetary relationship. It is a respect that we respect them as businesses and they respect us. And so they come and trust their brides to us because of that.
Mhm.
And because of the background that I have, working through the stores, I understand what it feels like I wasn't sales, but I saw how bridal shops operated from that level. So there is definitely an extension of that when you come in here. We don't do anything but wedding gowns. You buy a dress, you wait 6 months, 7 months, whatever it is for the dress to come in, and then you try it on and then you leave. And it's it could be the end of that experience. So here we've got the champagne, we've got the water. We want it to feel still special through
Yes.
the process of alterations, which alterations, could be a chore for you, or it could be a fun thing where your friends still get to come in and hang out with you and do all that stuff.
For those that are not very familiar with the Alter, they do a lot more than just fitting. So if you want to change your dress and put like sleeves and whatnot, they can actually do it. So speaking of that, can you give me more insight on like how like what types of alterations can you do and everything?
Well, we don't say no. If I'm standing in the building, we're not saying no. Um, Sleeves, lower the back. I mean, there are limitations to, sometimes I say things can't defy gravity or, some things just physically shouldn't happen. Whatever modifications, I think that we've got that creativity. And that is where we do feel like we set it apart, that we're not just doing sightseeing, having a bustle. If you're here for the ride, we're here for the ride. We're going to figure it
Yeah,
out. And we have
Uh,
amazing minds that we will all pull together. So it's not just me, it's the countless seamstresses that we have that are all here in-house sharing, and they're all so gracious and they just get excited. I mean, we had a couple projects this morning where we want to figure it out. It's a sewing engineering. You've got to figure out how to make what somebody wants happen and let them know what the limitations are as much as possible, but make that happen.
Yeah, I love that. And on your Instagram, you can see a lot of before and after. So for the listeners, please go to their Instagram and check out like everything that they've done. They truly make the dresses so unique and kind of like like a very, very unique dress, regardless of how much it's sold.
Just for fun examples, for anybody who wants fun examples, I mean, we've done everything from taking 2 dresses, like literally taking the top of one and the bottom of another and putting it together. We've
What?
taken we do a lot of vintage restorations. That's just near and dear to mine and my mom's heart. I actually, fun fact, I walked and did the ceremony in my mom's dress, which was my grandmother's dress. So from 1954, with all the resources that I did have, I still very much was attached to that. It had a little Peter Pan collar, very Mad Men, like
She
vintage
wore that
restoration.
down the aisle with the same minister who married us,
Oh,
Yes.
who
wow.
knew the families. It was probably the most beautiful ceremony I'll ever go to. It was it was what it was supposed to be. It was perfect. But then she switched into her other dress, that she uh, was talking about earlier.
So some of our cooler projects are the vintage restorations, and those I like to call those passion projects of mine and my mom's. As people, this goes outside of bridal as well. We just like repurposing old things.
We had a mom she has twin daughters that are getting married,
Okay.
and she had a dress that was just a kind of a to the knee dress, and a little overcoat. She was pregnant with the girls when she got married, so it's just this like fabric. And so she said, "Do what you can." We turned it into 2 different things for the 2
Oh
girls,
my
and one
God.
of them, and it's like I don't even know how we worked some of them, because one of them was just this little lace jacket, and we turned it into a whole short and a little cami set, and it was loved it. It was probably one of the more fun things I've done lately, where it's like, okay, that was really magical.
We'll
That was
ask her
really cool that we
first.
made that happen.
That is so cool. So I wish I knew that. I had no idea you would do that. In fact, my
Yeah.
mom, obviously I'm already married, but my sister's getting married, right? As I said in April. And my mom literally this past weekend brought her dress back from Mexico. So I tried it on.
Oh my
Oh, I love
god.
I didn't
that.
get to do anything with it, obviously, but I told my sister, like, you should do something with it. So
She
Yeah.
could do it for a shower. She could do it for the rehearsal,
right?
the getaway.
So I'm definitely gonna tell her to reach out to you.
Yeah. We say this about alterations all the time. We're the Chip and Joanna of clothes. We're not doing new build construction. We're given what we're given and we have to turn it into something. So, similar to Chip and Joanna, you tear down the walls. You don't know if they're shiplap. Like we have no idea most of the time
Right.
what we're working with. And that is what is so different about alterations versus like when you're making clothing directly
Right.
for somebody.
Right. What are some misconceptions of alterations?
So I want to say that with the alterations, we understand you've never gotten married before, most likely. So you buy the dress, you look around you, they measure you, and then it takes months for the dress to, most of the time, it takes months for the dress to come in. And so in your mind, this dress is being created just for you. The problem is, most of the time, it is a dress that's ordered to a certain size closest to your size. So when it comes in, there are alterations that are going to happen regardless of how much money the dress was, and how much time has transpired. There will be no alterations. That's why we have a whole business for that. We've taken it out of the in-house so that the experience can be elevated, and you're not in a basement somewhere, in the bottom of a product shop. But the misconceptions are, one, that it's easy, that I just need this and I just need that.
Yes.
If I put you in front of a mirror, all of a sudden you're going to find things that you didn't realize that you wanted to do to the dress. And one thing does affect another. There is a domino to that. So once you start making one thing tighter, maybe you want the other part tighter or looser or whatever you want. And most people, you know, as soon as you start doing it, it's like, oh, yes, I want that. And yes, I want to do this as well. So overall, you try the dress on and it's like, oh, this fits. Yes, it fits like that size was supposed to. Now you start modifying it. If you're busty, you're most likely not going to just be able to throw this dress on. You are going to need some support. This idea that, oh, just sew in a bra. Oh, just do this. Well, it's not just do that. Just do this. It has to be thought through. And how are you going to hide if you have, I keep calling them the naked dresses. How are you going to hide a bra? How are you going to make these things happen? I want a backless dress, but I want to feel supported. Well, if you have a backless dress, it's not going to feel, and these are, that it's going to have to be bustled. You're going to want to be able to dance and move. And well, I didn't know it was going to look like that when it's bustled. And we have to kind of say, well, there's only so much magic here. All of this fabric has to go somewhere. And without a pair of scissors, it has to go onto the dress. So that means you're going to feel the weight of it. So those are the things that we deal with. And the big one for us is, oh, that's easy. And again, it's not easy. We've got the equipment, we've got the years of experience, and all of that isn't easy. It took a lot of time to get here.
Every single appointment that I had with you, for instance, you guys were so transparent every single step of the way, on like the things that would work with my fabric because it's different than other fabrics with.
We want to set expectations.
Yes, which most customers would not even understand the type of fabrics or why would something work with one type of fabric or not the other. But having that type of conversations, because so another thing that I want to touch base really quick on is your appointments are lengthy. Like they're not just like super quick change, like it's you guys take the time to talk.
Right. We do multiple fittings rather than one long fitting. That is another thing that sets us apart is other businesses will like pin and then finish it. We understand it's going to take a minute for you to get through the process. You're going to want to see it in the middle of construction. We don't want to just bring you a finished garment and say, well, that's what you said. We want to work through this with you. And so you have typically there's 3 fittings, but if you want more, there's more. And we're working through, so that you can sort of process this dress that you've waited for, this little baby that you wanted. And that as you start making changes, it's like, okay, well, I'd like it a little shorter. I'd like it a little bit tighter, that we can do all of that with you. Not excessive, 3 fittings. Usually the first one you're talking about what needs to be done. The second one, the work is in progress. And then the third is a final. So it's concise, but it does give you an opportunity at the second fitting to make changes comfortably and to tell us what you're feeling.
As a customer of yours and also as a business owner, because we have very similar steps and we have a design consultation, it has to happen, it's required instead of, optional. We have those things in places for a reason, right?
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening, it's not like they just want to waste your time. It's not like they just want to make things difficult. Understand that those processes are there due to the 30-40 years of experience. And trust me, you will not regret just making sure that you go to those appointments. The last question before we go, what it's like working together as a mom and daughter, especially since you guys are so different?
Funny because everybody thinks we're super similar, and I think that's hysterical. On the outside, I'm sure we appear similar, but we're really not. From a personal standpoint, at the beginning when I was younger, especially when I was engaged, I used to say it kind of felt like I had to pick the business over my mom and that I lost one for the other. And that was really hard for me when I was younger because it's a lot. Business, I mean, I know you know this. It's a lot. Business is a lot, and it's hard to know when to shut it off. And it's taken a lot of years since then for us to kind of, my mom loves this word, but we have established boundaries. You have to know we're in personal time now, right? And I think that was easier for me to establish. Honestly, I didn't establish those boundaries until I had kids of my own. And I was like, oh, okay. No, we can't talk about this all the time. There needs to be life in between business.
You're going to make
right?
it, and I'll tell you why in a second.
When they were growing up, there was nobody to share this with. And so it was all consuming. And it has been all consuming. And that still is just my way of being and thinking. And so while that can be a negative, it also brought us to here. If I hadn't been as driven, if I hadn't been as focused, we wouldn't have this. So Rylee does not like that I say it's that brought us to here, that allows for her to have the freedom to have the boundaries and to be able to create the work life experience as well. And so that's something that I want to be able to have that credit of being able to give that life, because there's a sacrifice in that, right? There's things that I did miss, and I didn't sit down and play, and I didn't do those things, but now she can. And that came from both sides, right? We both had to work really hard over the last couple of years to make that happen. But it was all of the hard, yucky stuff. She always likes to say this is a shiny new penny. And everybody wants to be part of it now, like her brothers, right?
Of course.
But there
were
was
some
a lot of years that
really-
nobody would have traded places with me at all.
The metaphor I keep hearing is like with Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan, which is such a random metaphor right now, but they're like, they're overnight successes. And people are like, no, go check their 10 years prior. Go check what they've done for the last 10 years. Go check how much they prepared to be in this moment. And I genuinely believe this, that, you know, we were built for a time such as this. Like this was our moment, but no one has really seen the years that
Oh,
went
yeah.
in
100%.
making you for that
Yeah.
moment. And it's hard and it's very draining when you're doing it as a family. You know, we spent, I would say, a hard decade as a family where there was no room, to my mom's point, there was no room for no. We all three have been very fortunate because we are standing on the backs of our parents.
Mm.
And there were hard choices that were made, to my mom's point, to get here. Now, sitting on this season and having kids of my own, I can say, yeah, I do have the benefit of saying, you know, remember what life's about. Remember
Yes.
why we're all here.
And I love that because so my mom's birthday was 2 days ago. We did like different things with the family and so on. And every single time that I would see her by herself, we will talk business. And so on her birthday, we were able to last minute, I was like, well, what are you doing on your actual birthday? It's Monday, you know, everybody's busy. She's like, well, I don't think I'm gonna do anything. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the morning off. We're gonna go to lunch. We're gonna go, you know, do things. And the day after we spoke, and I said, I love the fact that we just talked about life and not work, because I cannot even remember the last time I saw my mom that and I'm talking about years, that I did not just talk about life and not work. And I love that so much. And I know she did too.
And it is such a strange thing to have to learn to prioritize, right? And I'm sure for people listening in that don't have that life experience of going through family business, that sounds strange. To anyone who's been in our shoes, they get it. Like
Yeah.
if you get it, you get it.
Yes.
But you have to prioritize fun. You have to prioritize
But
life.
see, that's the problem. So there's one of the differences. I do think the work part is fun. I do like thinking and dreaming of the next project. And she'll be like, "Mom, stop!" And you know, I'm always thinking about what can we do, how can we change, you know, all of that, and that is fun. It's a challenge, and I'm driven by that. So it is. It's funny to, you know, I have to accept that that's not fun for
Right. Yeah.
not all
Because
the time.
people want to talk to me about my life, and I'm like, well, this is my life. I don't have kids yet, right? So this is my life. You
Right.
want to talk to me about what I do, this is it. But no, people don't want to talk about that all the time. So, you know, can you tell our audience where they can find you, where you guys are located, and how to contact you?
Yeah, for sure. So we are downtown in the Design District in Dallas. The easiest way to get in contact if you want to set up an appointment or a consultation or whatnot is through our website. We have a contact form on there. It feeds directly to me. We'll chat. We'll figure out what the next best move for you is. But I definitely encourage you to check out our Instagram. We do put a bunch of resources into that to making sure our portfolio of sorts, if you will, is up to date and gives you a lot of good information. And Ruth does a little video every morning.
I love it. Okay. And your Instagram is?
It's at Alter for the Altar.
Oh, ladies, thank you so much for doing this with me today. This was
Thank
awesome.
Thank you for having us.
So much fun.
Learn about all things wedding straight from the experts. Be sure to like and subscribe to Bridal Club.